demo, I'm going to show you how to create a graphic that you can animate in After Effects. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new file in Photoshop. For this one of the things I've been playing around with is going into the film and video options under new files in Photoshop and then changing some of the sizes and the presets here. You can obviously see what the dimensions are, so which ones would be higher quality or lower quality. Let's see, I'm going to go with the HDTV 920 by 1080 72 res and hit OK. Nice thing is here you have your title safes, so you don't want to create anything basically outside of that. So what we're going to do next is go down and get our elliptical shape tool, and I'm going to create a circle while holding shift. Release. You can see here my properties window pops up over on the right side here, and what I'm going to do next is just create, I'm actually going to make a, so it has no fill, I'm going to give it a stroke. I'm going to bump that stroke weight up. There we go. Now you could go ahead, if you wanted to, you could just option click this to duplicate it, hold down shift to make it a little bit larger. You don't even have to really line these up yet. I'll show you how to do that. Maybe just something you could do is go ahead and change. Oh, I want to rescale, so I'm going to hit enter. Go ahead and just change out the size or the color, and maybe bump that stroke weight down a little bit. Okay, and I'll create one more circle in the center here. Hold down shift so it is actually a circle. And this one I'll have a fill on, so, and I'll leave a stroke on it too. So here what I'm going to do next is I'm going to shift select all those layers, go up, and I'm going to go to my alignment tools up here at the top, and I'm going to align it on a horizontal axis and also on the vertical axis, so it's dead center. And next I'm going to keep these things shift selected all my layers. I'm going to go up to layer, and I'm going to rasterize these to make them so they are pixel-based images instead of vectors. So you can see that they're no longer shapes, they're now editable as pixel-based images. So I'm going to take my my rectangular marquee tool, which by the way, if you click and hold on this, it'll pull it up, or if you right-click, which is what I've been doing for the new Photoshop. And so what I'm going to do here is just go and just take some chunks out of each layer. So I'm going to go to the middle one, I'll take the middle part of that out, I'll switch to the yellow one, and I'll take a bigger chunk out there, and maybe a thinner one out here, and then maybe the green one I'll just take some minimal stuff out, nothing too crazy. Alright, so I'm just using the large delete button to get rid of that. So this is going to be my graphic. So what we're going to do now is just save this to our After Effects folder, and title it. And you do want to say this is a PSD. So now this file is ready to go, and you could import this a number of ways into After Effects. But what I'm going to do is go into my After Effects images where I've been saving everything and just basically take the PSD and drop it in. Now when this pops up, sometimes it'll default, or it should default to footage, but we're going to change it to composition retain layer sizes. And there we're going to go with editable layer styles. I'm going to hit OK. The next thing I'm going to do is create a new composition. So this is a new project, file a new project. I already made one. The next thing I'm going to do is go file new composition. So I'm going to go new composition, and this is basically like where you're going to create your animation. So we'll call this graphic animation. And you see it now. You have your viewer up here, you have your layers window, and you have your timeline. Next thing is I'm going to take my folder with all these Photoshop layers in, and I'm going to just drag it down to the bottom. Now, this happens sometimes where I'll reorder stuff, and what's going on there is you just want to delete your white background. So I'm going to delete that, click on it, delete it. These, they really don't matter what layer order you're in. It may benefit you to right-click and rename them if you wanted to. Like that one is my yellow, so you could call that, yellow or whatever. I'm not going to for today, but what I am going to do is show you guys how to keyframe these. So in After Effects, all the keyframes are actually on these drop downs for transform. So if I just drop this down, you can see I have anchor point, position, scale, rotation, opacity. All right. So if I turn on one of these, you can see that it creates a keyframe over here. So at 0, it's saying, all right, at 0, let's see what thing we're working with. I want the yellow to look like this. Okay, by the time it gets to 4 seconds, what do we want it to do? Well, I can change the size a couple different ways. In this case, I'm just going to use my arrow to arrow it up. And I like that movement, but maybe I want to move that keyframe to the middle. So at 2 seconds that happens. And then maybe right away then here, I want it to scale back down. So I'm going to go boom, and it's going to snap back to it. Let's go see what that looks like. I hit the space bar to play, and then boom, the graphic snaps back on. Let's go ahead and keyframe rotation. All right, so for rotation, what I want to do, I want to start like this, and then by the time it gets to 2, I want it to have rotated that much. And then by the time it gets to 4, it's going to rotate back to 0. Good. So let's see this one. All right. Now, if I ever did turn off one of these stopwatches, which initiates our keyframing, it would actually undo all those keyframes. So just heads up. I can show you that right now just because I don't really care, but notice if I turn those off, all my keyframes are gone. So I could Command Z to undo that if I needed to. But the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about was just say I wanted to really keyframe everything at once, all the scales or all of the rotations. If I click down here, I shift select these guys and hit the letter R, it opens up rotation for everything. So I can, I just reset that one. No big deal though. So now what I can do is I can go out here and, okay, I want to work with just this one layer. And at 0, I want it to look like that. And by 4 seconds, I want it to have rotated that much, right? I'm just going to do a bunch. And then same thing with this one. I want that one to have gone the other way. And then this one, I want it to rotate that way. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. All right. So I have a really simple rotation. Now maybe one other thing I want to do, I'm going to get one of these. I think this is the green one. I'm going to have my green one change in scale. So at 0 it'll look like that. By the time it gets to here though, it's going to be bigger. And actually I'll do the same thing for this guy too. So say, now one thing you want to do is I would move this back to 0, just so like when you start keyframing you're not keyframe at 4 and trying to make it what it would look like at 0. Go back to 0. So here I'm saying, all right, 0, I want it to look like that little middle one, and then by 4 seconds or by 3 seconds, I want it to get bigger. Now, one thing I didn't show you was I've just been using these sliders down here to mess with scale, but you also have the option of going up here to your arrow and scaling it up. Oops. One thing you can do there is just hold down. If you hold down Shift, it'll give you the ability to keep that thing in proportion so it doesn't get stretched out. Now sometimes this can be problematic. As you can see here. I'm just going to switch to hold and shift there. Right, so that one now will get bigger. And say I wanted to go and rotate something too again. Maybe I want to rotate this thing from here to there. It's going to keep going. You can also use the rotation tool up here, and this one will allow me to rotate in it as well. So now let's see what that looks like. And again, all these things down here are your keyframes kind of telling you what's going on. Say I wanted to also change the opacity. Maybe the scale on this one. Let's see. I want it actually at that point to have gotten huge, but I want it to not be so overwhelming. So what I'll say is, okay, at this point, I'm going to go to T for opacity for that one. At this point, it's going to look like that, and then as it gets bigger, maybe starting here, I want it to actually move this guy up. I'm going to say, okay, from there to there, it's going to be looking like that. And then from here to here, I'm going to drop that opacity down just a little bit. Not a ton. So now when I play this, all I did was I slid that 0 keyframe over so that I could control it so that it would change. And right there, we pretty much have our animation.